I'm sitting comfortably where I am right now, but I found that it sounds a lot better when I'm here. But man, I'm close to the mic, and now I'm like, isn't this comfortable?
Move back. Say something now.
This is me being comfortable in my seat right now.
That is perfect.
All right.
That was actually perfect. As soon as you got closer, it was like, it's getting too loud and annoying.
Oh, you don't like this? Pics of the week.
I quite like that, actually.
We should also do a section where it's called. We'll have to do just a new ASMR each week.
Oh boy!
Well, you got the ukulele.
I could just rub my beard against the mic.
Yeah, you could just get that ukulele and just start doing stuff with the ukulele and.
Yeah.
Okay, welcome one and all to episode 49 of the Megavision Show, the companion podcast to Megavision's magazine. Today is August the 30th, 2020. I'm Graham, the production editor of Megavision's magazine. With me, as always, we have Chris, the editor-in-chief of Megavision's, and Scotty Doesn't Mow, the managing editor of Megavision's. How's it going, fellas? Scotty, how are you doing today?
I'm good. I got a special treat for us if we're ready.
Ooh.
Oh, hell.
What it is? Oh, my God.
I'm going to do it's the Sonic Peach Rings. It's been sitting on my desk for a while, so now it's wet. And I don't know. Okay. Let's do this real quick. We're going to crack one open with the boys here. This is the G Fuel official drink of esports Sonic Peach Rings. Yeah, that's what it's called. So
I said Scotty was going to do an ASMR.
Whoa, you smell it before you even think about it. Wow. So I was really into peach rings as a kid, and I would always get those at Blockbuster. They'd be on I
love those.
The impulse stand. It tastes exactly like those.
Really?
Exactly like those. Yeah, it is all peaches.
How much sugar is in that bad boy?
Calories 0. Big old ring right there.
Oh, so it's like a diet drink then.
Ugh.
Total fat 0. Where is the sugar? Let's see here.
I bet it's going to be 0 because if there's no calories, there's no like.
Yeah. It says total carbs 0, total sugar 0, includes 0 grams added sugar.
What's it sweetened by?
It's there's a lot of potassium in here. Not a significant source of saturated fat, trans fat, cholesterol, dietary. Let me see what the first ingredient is. Carbonated water, malic acid. Yeah, broccoli and kale are in this thing.
Wow. Well, it's healthy. It's a healthy drink.
I mean, yeah, at the very end it says tart cherry.
Favorite drink?
I don't know. It's not bad. I mean, these things normally taste horrible. Maybe that's why I can take it too, because 0 sugar. I used to be an energy drink fiend, and it got to the point where I could not drink the sugar ones. I could only drink the sugar-free stuff because they actually hurt my teeth. So this is the Performance Energy Limited Edition.
I don't think you've ever needed an energy drink in your life, Scotty.
Why do you say that, Chris?
Because you always seem to have plenty of energy for everyone around you, and like you on like 3 or 4 Red Bulls, I'm afraid to see.
That's how I got through too many games this weekend.
Oh, man. I imagine Scotty could see through time if he has a Red Bull.
A little bit. Yeah.
Like
the Flash.
It's like the intro to Star Trek. Everything's flying past you.
So 1 through 5, how would you rate this?
Oh, well, it tastes actually good. It actually tastes good. And the can is fun. I was bummed out the box that it comes in doesn't have Sonic anywhere on it. It's just a generic can. I'll give it a 4.
Wow, that's pretty good.
Because it tastes better than most energy drinks. I got it off G Fuel's website. I don't know what that website is. gfuel.party. I don't know. I don't know what it is. But that's just the real legit feedback. Get ready for a Scotty Mo unboxing later on. Oh. It'll probably be up by the time this video and recording's up.
Awesome. Now
let's go to Scotty Mo's YouTube.
Ooh, it doesn't taste good the second sip.
Oh,
or the after the fact.
Does it have a weird aftertaste?
A little bit, but it does eerily taste a lot like peach rings. Which again, I can't even eat those anymore because they're so sugary they hurt my teeth.
Wow.
So don't get old and brush your teeth more, kids, and drink Sonic G Fuel.
It's so funny at this point now, like, in my life, I have to brush my teeth after any sugary substance that I.
Oh no, dude!
I can't feel like the sugar. I know you're supposed to wait like 20 minutes and wash your mouth with like warm water. I do all that.
Okay, good.
But
I don't know about that.
You're better to clean your teeth before you have anything sugary, like, because that gives you the protective coating. If you brush it in straight after eating something sugary, it actually rubs the sugar into your teeth. It's actually really bad for you. So that's why you have to wait a little bit and also wash it out. So that's a little little tip there for you. Yeah,
I don't know if
Sonic Energy drink.
Graham's dental diagnosis for the week.
Oh yeah. Ding.
You been up to anything else, Scotty?
Oh yeah, plenty. Sorry, I didn't know we were going into my crap. Let me get my notes here. I did actually try. So we're on a weird recording schedule, and I forgot to mention it last episode. That I did play. I tried to play Echo Future Days of Future Past. That's what the game's called.
Echo Dolphin Defender of the Future.
Is that what it is?
Yes. In fact, I have it right next to me. Ta-da!
Yeah.
Randomly. That was not prepared.
I was ready to stream it. Nice. I was ready to stream it, so I popped it in, and before I started any going live or anything, I tested it out. It got to the title screen. I hit start. Cool. Game loads. I start streaming. I go live. Disc doesn't work at all. I tried turning the system off and on again, taking it out, putting another disc, whatever, all this stuff. Wasn't working. I'm like, okay, cool. This has been the stream for 20 minutes. Well, let's do something fish related, I guess. So I put in Sega Bass Fishing and played that for 2 hours. And it was actually really cool. And I think I talked a person in the chat room into getting a fishing rod controller.
Yes.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, so shouts out to Red Jaguar. He's always in there hanging out, but
he's been hanging with us on Fridays too.
Yeah, good guy.
Nice. He was legit asking, like, are you actually having fun with this thing? Like, I thought this peripheral was a joke, and I basically said, like, this is the most I've used it in an actual fishing game. Let me tell you about the other games that use the fishing rod controller. And no, but that was actually a lot of fun. It was cool playing that, and it's such a chill game that, especially after having the stressor of, one of my games doesn't work that I've never actually played but was really looking forward to. It was nice to have like a relaxing game to play after that. So, and people were getting into it and they were digging that game's so goofy, and it's definitely campy with like Big One or whatever the hell it says when you catch a fish and stuff like that. And just the person's wrist that moves in unnatural ways when they're holding the fish and stuff. Like, the best is like when the fish looks dead as it's about to enter your boat. If it's a really big, like double-digit pounder, there's the title. But like, so it looks like it's dead because it's floating, but then your arms just casually go into the water and you like pick it up like it's a ceremonial thing. It's great. So that was fun. I was glad that I actually got to play that game and use the fishing rod more than I have for a legit fishing game.
Oh wow, Chris, what's been happening this week for you?
So I've been watching a lot of Hammer flicks to get ready for the next Bloodsucking Geeks podcast.
Of course,
because we are doing a 2-part special on Hammer. I'll be honest, like, I am not a Hammer expert at all. I've watched a few Hammer films over the years, but it wasn't until a couple of years ago that I really started getting into it. I love the Hammer films. It's so good. Like, the ones I've been watching, specifically a lot of the Frankenstein Hammer films with Peter Cushing. And I don't know if you guys have ever seen them, but basically the original Frankenstein movie was the first Hammer, was one of the first Hammer horror films that they ever did, but they were so afraid that Universal was going to sue them because they had just made Frankenstein. And obviously, it got super, super popular. And so they didn't want them to get sued. So they had to make their version of the monster look visually much different. And it was actually Christopher Lee who played the first monster. And if you look at him, he looked more like a zombie than anything else. The makeup just looked terrible, honestly. But his acting was fine. Peter Cushing is so amazing. And the things that I love about the Hammer Frankenstein movies is that the monster itself isn't the star or the main character, which you see in a lot of the Universal. It's all about like the monster. But the Hammer ones is all about Frankenstein. And the monsters are kind of a second thought. It's this like each movie he's making like a new monster and stuff, so you don't see a lot of carryover. And it's just the first film ends with it's looking like he's going to go out to like a guillotine and get beheaded because of all the craziness that he did. The second one picks up right after that. Like literally, like when the first one ends, it picks up and kind of goes its own way. The thing that I love about Peter Cushing's portrayal of Frankenstein is most of the time he seems like a genius. He seems like very, very like.
Which one is this? Which movie?
This is the second Frankenstein movie from Hammer.
Okay, so the Hammer portrayal of him.
Yeah, the Hammer Frankenstein films, because Peter Cushing is Hammer's Frankenstein basically.
Interesting.
And he's you see the genius in his character, and a lot of times like you can kind of understand where he's coming from, because the way he explains like why he's doing what he is doing is because he is trying to better humanity. He's trying to continue getting people who have died to be able to come back, and he's learning more about the actual process and he's learning that basically he knows now that he can bring a dead body back, but he's found that you have to have a living brain. Essentially, you have to take the brain of someone who's alive and immediately take it from them and put it in the dead body, and then send some electrical current to restart that body's system and stuff. But there's moments throughout all of this, like when he's just a genius and he's got his shit together, that you see maniac behind all of this. He'll do something like attack a woman and like rape her, for instance, because he did that in the first movie. That's when you realize, like, wait a second, this guy he's fucking crazy. He's not a good guy. But then, like, the next scene, the next day, he's just like talking like it never happened. And so he's a fucking psycho. But it's done in such a way that you don't really tell that he's a psycho until like these little moments throughout the film, and it's awesome because of it. It's such a good series. I'm on the second one right now, about to finish it. The second Frankenstein Hammer film, I should say, and then I'll go on to those. I think there's 4 in total, and then I've watched several of the Dracula films, the Mummy, that they've done. But if you've never watched any of the classic Hammer films, I definitely suggest you give them a shot, because they're all filmed from like the late 50s. I think in the 80s Hammer was still around, but they started kind of going downhill. And they had a bit of a resurgence, I think in the late 90s maybe, or the early 2000s. And from what I hear is that there's some rumors that they're going to be coming back out again with the publishing arm. As I was watching the film, I started thinking like it would be interesting to just see a movie or TV show come out where it just follows like Frankenstein after, and just showing him trying to be a normal member of society. It probably could be a comedy even. Like,
yeah, VH1's Where Are They Now?
Like, I got to go get a fucking job. And so he's like, takes on like maybe, I don't know, working on the docks of like Philadelphia or something. And like, just trying to make a living, man. And all sorts of
Frankenstein at a Baskin Robbins hitting the register buttons or something.
Maybe he joins a gang, like an urban gang one day. And he becomes like a blood.
He's a university professor or something.
Just see what he's doing. Speaking of university professors, I also bought Ernest Goes to Camp. Yes. And this is one of my...
Wait, what else is with that? Is that a bundle?
It is a 2-part bundle with Camp Nowhere.
Those aren't the same type of movies, but okay.
Not at all. I don't know why these are 2 bundled together. But I will say, though, that I was trying to find Ernest Goes to Camp. It is not available anywhere. All the other Ernest ones, Ernest Scared Stupid, Ernest Goes to Jail, Ernest Saves Christmas, Ernest Goes to Your Mom's House, like they're all on streaming, except the first one. And so I went to eBay and I found some for like $15 on Blu-ray or DVD, and somehow I guess there's this one, the only one that seems like it's new, like a newer release. on Amazon for about $11 shipped, which is not bad. I don't know what the it says it's in 1080i the video, so I don't know how well I don't know how well the actual transfer and everything of this is. So I definitely plan on watching it. I'm hoping I can convince the kids to watch it with me tonight after dinner.
Ernest is very hit or miss. My dad fucking loves Ernest and would quote him left and right.
Oh yeah,
I don't know why. I like him, but I probably loathe the Ernest movies as a result of hating my dad's jokes. So I should probably give them another chance. I remember Ernest Scared Stupid was a legit scary movie for children.
Ernest Scared Stupid is a fantastic one.
Because who does the practical effects? And there's some well-known person. I forget.
I can't remember.
Unless it's Savini or whatever. I forget.
I don't know if Tom Savini did that. I wouldn't be surprised, but yeah, a lot of the like for the troll and stuff, like he had scenes of like really up close shots, and he was just like snot coming out of his nose, and it just looked so gross. I loved it.
It's great. It's great.
Wow.
And so yeah, got Ernest. I'm really excited about that. That's pretty much what I've been up to this week. Not a lot that's been exciting, but lots of good progress, I should say. So
lovely. Wow, I'm happy for you.
Graham Bam, thank you, ma'am. What have you been doing?
Yo, what's been going on? Yeah, Chris, I need to ask you a question, actually, before I talk about my next thing. Have you played Control yet?
No.
God damn it. So I've now finished the main story missions for Control. So I finished the main storyline. And so I bought it a couple of days after you bought it, I think. And like when we talked about the podcast a few weeks ago, and it's been a game that I've just had in my Xbox and just playing every second I've got a chance. I've been playing it for like a few hours at a time. I love that game. And there's one thing. So it's not like the greatest game ever made. And gameplay wise, it's very solid. I have no issues with the game at all. But one thing I will say about Remedy is they really know how to make some really memorable moments in games. So one of the reasons I love Alan Wake is I like the storyline of Alan Wake. I personally like the gameplay and everything, but they had some really cool epic moments in it, which I just haven't really experienced in any other game. And Control doesn't do it as much as Alan Wake does, but it does do it. And there's one bit towards the end of the main story missions, which was just I just enjoyed it so much. And Kate was sitting next to me watching me she was like going, this is really fun. And I was like,
no spoilers.
I won't say anything, but at the end of that bit, I was like, that was awesome. And then the character in the game goes, that was fucking awesome. Like, so the character in the game, and I was like, oh my God, it's so good. Like the whole bit, like there's some really good music playing, and and this isn't a spoiler for that bit, but the whole game has elements of like Inception, where the walls will move around and things will curve, like the corridors that will twist around, and it's like really trippy at times. And that section had loads of those sort of Inception moments in it and stuff. So while the music was playing and all this action was happening, I was like, this is so much fun. And there's a couple of other moments in the game where it does have some really cool, epic, sort of really fun moments. Not as much, as I say, not as much Alan Wake. I think Alan Wake I prefer, although this is a really good game. And I've downloaded the expansion pack, so the Ore, which is a crossover with Alan Wake expansion pack, and the other one. It's basically bought the season pass, so I've got to do those missions. And once you actually finish the main story, there's other missions to do as well to sort of for the game itself. But they, so I'm excited to play through the rest of it. Really, it's very good fun. Yeah. That's it. Anyway, that's basically it for me, I think, this week. Oh, actually, one last thing. Yeah. Just like you, I also have a drink to share with everybody based on last week. So,
okay.
Let's see. I've just turned.
You found orange vanilla cola. Oh no! What the fuck are you doing that with a shuriken? What was that thing?
It's actually a coaster, which is also a fridge magnet, but it's also a bottle opener. And it's got my name on it.
Yeah, it was also.
And you also use it like a little ninja star.
100%. What's that horror movie with two little spiky things? It looks like it belongs in that. Yeah, so you got a bottle opener out of Phantasm.
Sub-Zero. Like. We did Phantasm.
Okay.
But this is
not only is that huge, but your bottle is huge. I don't know what you guys are doing over there.
So this is from the cider place I mentioned last week, because at the end of the show you mentioned about it being a hard cider, and then we got into the conversation. in the UK, cider is just hard cider. It's all alcoholic. If you have a non-alcoholic cider, it's basically apple juice. But in America, I know you guys call cider like non-alcoholic apple
cider. Like
drink.
We're coming up on the season for cider with autumn and fall, because everybody's, I guess, making apples into drinks now. But cider is different than apple juice, and we're not drunks like you guys.
Fair enough. Well, we don't really have non-alcoholic cider, I guess. Actually, I think you can get non-alcoholic beer. I think you can get non-alcoholic cider, but it's going to be a bit different to what you guys have.
Yeah, you're a loser.
This is from the local brewery we're camping next to, the Severn cider. So it's next to the River Severn, and it's a lovely, fresh, fruity cider.
Grown next to the River Severn.
Oh yeah, literally, it's like it's a stone throw away.
Drink of the week.
Yeah, it's the mail sack. We got the mail sack. Beautiful mail sack. Oh, nope, that's wrong. That's very wrong.
Moving on to Scotty Mo, your mail sack of wonder.
All right, so let's break it out and see what we've got in this week's sack. Super. Anyway,
I want you to sing the mail sack, the whole thing, as in music form one of these days.
It's the mail sack. We got the mail sack. Beautiful mail sack. Oh, nope, that's wrong. That's very wrong. We'll be back later with that.
Still working on that.
Let me workshop that. Yeah. So anyway, Sarnex, aka Caesar, in the Discord said, excited about any Gamescom announcements at all? Sticks his tongue out. So Gamescom happened. Things are still happening. So myself, not much looked too awesome and struck any chords. Doom Eternal, the DLC, nah, I'm done with that game. Super done with that game because Corey explained it best. It's very much like Dark Souls in that it starts hard and just gets harder. I do not play those games. I do not want that type of challenge in games. I want an escape. I don't want aggravation to the nth degree. So for those that know who have played Doom Eternal and know... crap. Have either of you guys played that? I forget the...
I played Doom Eternal.
What's the name of the guy that you can only block and then attack him when he's stunned for a second? I can't remember now, and it's lost. But basically, the DLC adds 2 of those coming at you at once. I can't fucking remember. I'm trying to look in something real quick to find out, but it's not coming up fast enough. Marauder, that's it. So the Marauder that you fight throughout Doom Eternal, he's like the enemy that you're just like, oh fuck, we got this guy again. The end of the DLC trailer shows 2 of them, and I'm just like, nah, I'm good. I'll watch somebody do that because it's fucking insane. But otherwise, Little Nightmares 2 looks really cool. There's a ton of Ratchet and Clank gameplay for Rift Apart that looks pretty neat. Not much else that caught my eye because it's a lot of new gen stuff. It's neat that a new Age of Empires is coming out. But we'll just go around the table here. Chris, what did you see?
I think the one that stuck out to me was Turrican Anthology Volumes 1 and 2 were announced for the Switch and PS4.
I think I missed that somehow.
Yeah, so Strictly Limited has teamed up with Factor 5. And so they're doing Volume 1 and 2. This was basically like opening night of Gamescom. They announced this. I think it was like the 27th. So basically, I think it was around the time we started talking about Turrican. Was when this was announced. So the first volume is going to have Turrican 1, 2, Super Turrican Director's Cut, and Mega Turrican Score Attack. The second volume is going to have Turrican 3, Mega Turrican Director's Cut, Super Turrican 2, and Super Turrican 1 Score Attack. And they'll also have some soundtracks included with them. So there's a collector's edition and ultra collector's edition. That's probably going to cost a shit ton of money. But yeah, they're up for pre-order now. Let me just go there and see what the price on these
Turrican, for those that don't know, that's a game that if you know it, you're fucking ready. If you don't, you're like, what's the big deal?
So the Ultra Collector's Edition sold out for the PS4.
Wow.
Nice. I was going to say, if anyone has ever played Gunlord, that recently is an indie game that came out on Dreamcast and Steam recently. Very cool game. That's strongly Turrican inspired.
Yeah, I guess you can still get the Switch Ultimate Ultra Collector's Edition. It's 100. It's based 200 euros, and the regular Collector's Edition is 100 euros for both systems. Or you could just get the actual physical version for 35 euros each. So 1 and 2. So it'd be 70 euros in total to get both.
Oof.
Yeah. You probably should just go ahead and get the collector's edition because you get both volumes in it and like this really big cool box set.
You got a link for that you're looking at? Let me see it.
Yeah, sure.
Show me the goods.
Sure, I got you. Here we go.
It's
on the Strictly Limited website, and you can get them all there. I might actually have to get these. These look pretty cool.
While you're at it, get the vinyl soundtrack.
Oh my god.
Jeez, man.
Yeah, there's a lot going on here. I'm not going to be one of those crazy people that get an ultra collector's edition just because I don't have anywhere to put it. But I would like these physical, like the $100.
Yeah, I kind of like to just get 1 and 2.
The 100 euro one isn't so bad, but Turrican's a game.
Almost, it's not too much a rip-off if you get 1 and 2 separately. Honestly,
I want to see what comes with the so if you spend an extra $25 to get the collector's edition, they are limited to 3,500 copies and they're individually numbered. Let's see what it all comes with. You do get it looks like a Turrican 30th anniversary pin. You get some cards, a signed postcard, you get the soundtrack, a sticker sheet, art book, some
that is a better
posters.
Deal than buying them separate.
And there's a documentary in there too, it looks like. So I would say all that extra stuff is probably worth an extra $25 or so. Or $30, 30 euro, I should say.
Which you mentioned the box art. There's one that looks like a Genesis box and also Mega Drive box, and there's another one that looks like Super Nintendo box art type
Pretty
stuff.
badass.
So it's cool. They're going all out, and they should be. This is a
Tom Dubois.
I'd say Turrican's a decently influential game, right?
I would say so. I will say I've never actually played the games a whole lot. I'm not too familiar with them, but I know folks, they are well respected.
This is a rare time. The PS4 version and the Switch version are the same price. No Switch tax this time, so hop on those.
Awesome.
That's awesome. And the Tom Dubois is doing the art for those for the Genesis and Mega Drive art boxes, I guess. And he's done like a ton of stuff, like a ton of Disney style paintings and stuff. So it looks like the art is going to be amazing. Is what I'm trying to say for this. So I'm talking myself into getting this because it looks awesome. So I would say Turrican for my Gamescom announcements. That was pretty awesome.
Cool.
I'm surprised you didn't have anything to say about Star Wars, unless Graham does.
Do I? That is actually one of the things I was going to say. Star Wars Squadrons, that is a game that has really piqued my interest because I love sort of space combat shooting games like that. Like the original sort of Rogue Squadron games on the N64 and stuff. I love those sort of games, and like Rogue Leader and stuff on the GameCube. But I'm very picky with them because there's a lot out there that I just don't enjoy that much. Like the Elite games, I love the idea of the Elite games, but this, like Elite Dangerous, one of the more recent ones, which is on the Xbox One and stuff, that game is just it's almost too realistic. It's really hard to actually do stuff in it, and it's very. I think it's meant to be better on the PC, but I had it on the Xbox One. I just found it very difficult to play. I like this sort of arcadey style, just jump in, you can fly around shooting stuff. I really get into that. So there doesn't seem to be that many out there lately, especially. And so this excites me. My only slight hesitation is that it's made by EA rather than Factor 5, who used to make the old Star Wars or Rogue Squadron games.
Right.
I mean, EA did quite well with Jedi Order. Was it Jedi Fallen Order or just Jedi Order? I can't actually remember what it's called now. I don't. It's just looking at my cases.
Fallen Order.
On my shelf.
Familiar.
Yeah, I think it's actually called Star Wars Jedi: Fallen Order.
That's the one. Yeah, that was a good game. I actually think I prefer the Jedi Knight games to it and stuff, but and I really enjoyed the Unleashed game. But I think EA did a respectable job with that and stuff. So the Squadrons looks really good. So I'm actually very interested to play this. That's something that's really excited me. Also, another one that I'm interested in is Haven, which is it's been revealed that it's the launch title for the Xbox Series X. But it's also coming on PC, Switch, PS5, and PS4, and Xbox One. So basically everything. But that's a co-op RPG sort of adventure game, and that's actually really interested me. So yeah, those are my two big picks that really jumped out at me when I was watching it. Other stuff I'm interested in, but those were two that I was like, yeah.
Wasn't there like a game called Haven on like Xbox back in the day?
PS2. It was on PS2. I own it. Chris, you were the one who told me to buy it. And it starts off amazingly, like brilliant. Like it's actually like a really good intro, like bits of the game and stuff. And then suddenly just goes right downhill. And then after I told you that, I was like, it's starting to get a bit boring now. You're like, oh yeah, all the reviews did say that. And I was like, God damn it, Chris. Like,
Haven Call of the King. It was a Traveler's Tales game.
Yeah, it's a pretty good game though. That old Haven game.
If anyone can't remember, but it's familiar, it had that redhead guy with like cornrows on the box art. I think he was kind of the star of the game.
It had some really good ideas in it, but I never finished it in the end because I think I got to a point I was just kind of like a bit bored and a bit stuck. So I remember the opening being really good. Anyway.
Did you guys watch okay. This is where we are in games right now. So there was one ad for a game where this nerdy looking dude's got a backpack and he's clearly in a zombie apocalypse and he like makes it into this like old factory, closes the door, finds a generator, pulls the ripcord for it, starts it up, plugs his laptop in, sits down with his laptop, puts his gaming headset on, and he's playing fucking Bridge Constructor. And then zombies start. Well, you don't see what he's playing yet, and then zombies start coming in and whatever and blah blah blah, and they kill him, and his laptop falls over, and it's Bridge Constructor, The Walking Dead. So everything is everything now, guys. There's no. Like, Bridge Constructor is a cool series. It is very much that, making bridges to get from point A to point B. But it's like, that was just like the picture perfect. Yeah, this is where video games are. Anything can be a zombie apocalypse. Anything is Portal 2. Anything is Fortnite. Like, it was, I don't know. That just got me, that turned my gears in a certain way, I guess.
Wow. That's amazing.
It made me laugh and also cry. So, yeah, Gamescom.
Awesome.
I do want to play Ratchet and Clank. The more I see of it, I want to play Ratchet and Clank for sure.
You will soon, my friend. You will soon.
I think they also announced some new stuff for the new Crash. Was it Crash 4? I'm really looking forward to that.
Oh, yeah. There was something in there. I cannot find... I can't... This is like the pros and cons of conventions happening during COVID. Pros is we can all go somewhere and watch something at the same time. Cons, every fucking site, like Jeff Keighley's got his Summerfest. Everybody has their own thing, and it's so hard to find just a solid list of what happened or where to watch it and get all the information because everybody's like for some reason Jeff Keighley had Doc Brown in the middle of his introducing Surgeon Simulator 2 and other stuff, and it's just like I don't know what's coming on. You're not telling me.
As like a roving reporter or whatever in the lab.
Yeah, Alf created Hatsune Miku. It's all good now.
What other questions have we got in the elder mail?
Oh yeah, there's other people were here. Ichabod said, "What do you make of the recent Shenmue rumors? Something seems to be happening. Even Sega Forever got in on it, and he shared some tweets here. It's Twitter, so take it as you will. Aesthetic Gamer 1 tweeted, "Was told I can tease this. Anyone who cares about Shenmue and its story, there's a fun kind of unexpected announcement coming within the next few weeks. It's not Steam release or Shenmue 3 coming to another platform. It's something new."
Ooh. Shenmue Online's finally coming out.
What's that?
Shenmue Online's finally coming out. Yes.
There it is. And Sega Forever, I wouldn't take anything behind this other than just having fun and throwing a survey up. Sega Forever said, "Excuse me, hashtag Sega Forever," and they had the four multiple choice options of I see. Do you know about Woo-Doo? I'm looking for sailors. Maybe I'll get another.
That came out right as Graham and I were doing our stream on Friday.
Yeah.
And we were actually discussing that a little bit in our stream of the Sega Forever post.
Yeah.
And just asking which one. I picked what? Oh, I picked the sailors.
So did I.
Like,
I'm looking. I'm trying to find it right now. Yeah, I'm looking at. Okay, here's the results of this very important survey. IC has 29.2%. Do you know about Woo-Doo? 12.5%. I'm looking for sailors. 42.3%, and maybe I'll get another 16%.
Nice. All is right in the world.
Yep, we're good.
I don't know about what to make of the actual, this aesthetic gamer. I've never heard of this person before, so I don't know who's telling him he can tease this. I would maybe just, could there be some sort of like Shenmue collaboration with another game where you could see Shenmue characters or outfits or something? Is that even a thing? Would that be?
They put Ryu in a fighting game, I think.
But the thing that interests me about his
because
tweets,
they got Virtual Fighter characters jumping into places.
Yeah, they do.
Sorry, Graham.
Sorry. I was going to say, the thing that interests me about his tweet is it says people interested in or cares about Shenmue and its story. So I'm wondering if there's like some sort of comic book or a novelization or something that could something to continue the storyline, like not other than a game, maybe.
An anime would be fucking awesome.
Oh, that would be really good. Or live action.
I said forever ago. Yeah, I said forever ago to fans of Shenmue in a discussion. I was like, just finish it in an anime. Just finish it in an anime. This was before Scotty Moe had played Shenmue 1 and 2, so I definitely disagree with myself and think it should be a game. But you could, man, if they made Shenmue an anime, it would have to make fun of itself, like almost One Punch Man style of anytime something crazy's happening, and then you pan over to Rio, and he's like, okay. And then it goes back to the action or something. Yeah. I want this more than anything because Chris and Marcin and I, or maybe you were on that episode.
I was on a couple of episodes,
where we were talking about Rio taking a bus to the part in Shenmue 2 that is only like 15 minutes away, but he like can't figure out how to get there. And then finally he rides the bus like an insane person, holding on to nothing, just standing in the middle of it, looking dead ahead.
Like, I want to see in the middle of the aisle in the bus, and like there's only just one other person on the bus, I think. I want that animation of him, and then the bus gets there and it stops suddenly, and since he's not holding on to anything, he just rocket propels through the windshield and just stands up and walks forward like nothing happened. That would be funny if you just showed like how much absurdity happened in the Shenmue series of just Ryu doing weird stuff.
Yeah. I don't know how we haven't gotten that yet. Some sort of animation of that.
You think a fan thing would come. I think you made a good point though, Graham. I think you did. I think it's something along those lines where maybe it's going to be like a Kickstarter comic or something, or maybe I don't know if we could realistically get an anime from this, but maybe like a comic book would be, or a manga would be pretty cool.
The thing is too, like Sega has had nothing to do with Shenmue for a long time, so they probably don't know anything going on with this now either. So
yeah, I doubt like Sega Forever and those guys are actually, there's any sort of strategic communication plan or something like that. Like they have some sort of thing where like, oh yeah, we're gonna start just teasing Shenmue stuff from official Sega accounts. I don't think there's. I think it's just mere coincidence.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I don't know.
I'm excited.
It's exciting. It could be cool. They've already put out all the DLC for it or whatever.
I didn't play any of the DLC.
But that exists, right? That's already out there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the 3 is essentially done, from what we understand. Okay, and then we have one more question on Twitter from @AlternativeSega. Sega Ages is ending, but Sega said they still want to bring old games to the Switch. They could port those Xbox Live versions of Knights, Guardian Heroes, Daytona, Jet Set Radio over. So what do you think they're going to do? To answer this, we kind of already answered this in the last episode. So again, apologies that the audio is not out at the time of this recording. So go check out the last episode, I guess.
Yeah. We didn't really mention so much about them bringing over the Xbox Live games, but I think it'd be cool if they did that. Like Guardian Heroes would be perfect on the Switch. I think that's such a fun multiplayer co-op game.
Yeah.
Knights would be also. Yeah, Knights. Come on. Yeah, I'd love to have a portable version of Knights in my pocket. So yeah. Those are all great choices
too. If one of the different controller companies out there decided to make a 3D controller for the Switch, that would be
Knights controller. That'd be so good.
A Knights controller for the Switch.
There were rumors that 8-bit or whoever made the wireless Saturn ones is working on a 3D controller wireless one. I'm not sure how true that is, though.
That'd be so good because I still think that's the most comfortable controller I've ever held in my life. I think that's
my favorite controller. No exaggeration.
Yeah,
I use it on every Saturn game that it works with, whether it uses the 3D thing or not.
I would play that for World Series Soccer, or what was it called? Was it World Series or Worldwide Soccer?
There's World Series
97 or 98.
Oh yeah, I think I got that on my shelf.
Which is still one of my favorite soccer games. The Worldwide Soccer games on the Saturn were fantastic, but they played really well with the 3D Knights Saturn stick.
Can you use this? You could use the stick on those?
I'm pretty sure you could. I seem to remember doing that.
Because I use that controller with games that don't even use the 3D stick, just because it's more comfortable, maybe for whatever. But
there you go.
SEGA Worldwide.
Okay. Soccer 97.
I will go as far as to say that the Dreamcast controller is a downgrade from the Saturn 3D controller.
Yeah, I could possibly agree with that. Yeah, the D-pad definitely, and even the analog stick. I think the thumb analog thing for the Knights controller was so good, so comfortable. I do still like the Dreamcast one. I think the Dreamcast one's great for racing games, but yeah, I think the Saturn.
I just like the grips better because they're bigger. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a great controller.
So that's our answer.
There you go.
We just want more 3D controller stuff support.
Oh dear.
I think that's gonna just about
okay.
Here.
Should we zip up that mail sack?
Yes, let me zip it up, and we're gonna close it out. God damn it! Let me try one more time, folks, with these closing notes. God damn it! We'll do this.
Too close to the mic now.
Maybe. Anyway, that was magical, and that's the end of the mail sack.
That'll do. Oh, awesome. Excellent. And that...
Turn the page.
That kind of brings us on to our news segment, but we're actually changing things up a little bit now. We've decided that we're not really going to do the news segments in the full show anymore because, honestly, by the time we've edited the video and the audio version of the podcast, our news is kind of late already. And it's kind of, we're looking at actually different ways of bringing you more relevant news more frequently and more promptly as well. So that's something we've got in the pipeline that we're looking at doing. And maybe in the next couple of weeks, hopefully we'll start to actually have that for you. So we will still be producing news, but for the moment, we're not going to do it as part of the main full Megavision show. However, that said, we do feel it would be remiss for not mentioning the sad passing of Chadwick Boseman this week. So he passed away, it's actually a couple of days ago now, on the 28th of August at the age of 43. He was diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer a few years ago, back in 2016, so 4 years ago roughly. Sadly, he's been... I think it was kept quiet because everyone I've spoken to didn't even know anything about this at all. I don't know if you guys heard anything about him having cancer.
Nah, not at all. Yeah.
Evidently, he was filming for anyone who doesn't know, actually, Chadwick Boseman played Black Panther in the Marvel movies. So in Black Panther and the Avengers movies, and also Captain America Civil War he was in as well. He's been in other movies as well, but I think that's what he's most famous for, really. But yes, just sad to think he was filming all those movies with cancer and no one really knew about it. He kept it very private from my understanding. But it's just, I think it's a sad loss. So as I said, I think it would be remiss not to even mention that this week. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts to add or anything, but I'm pretty gutted by it, I have to admit.
My quick thoughts are he did a lot for African Americans in cinema, and definitely check out his library. Antichris's son, he has a little boy, and on Facebook he posted all his Marvel action figures having a funeral for Black Panther. Black Panther was laying in the middle of them, and he had all his action figures around them. I actually started to cry.
Oh wow,
that's pretty crazy.
So it was cool, but you don't think about that like we're adults, but we like comic book movies. Like you don't think about the kids, because I can't think of a time growing up, I mean, that a movie star passed away that was in any big movies that I was into like that. So you don't even think about another generation that's somehow dealing with this kind of stuff.
I remember the first time Odin had to experience something like that. He was still very young, and I don't think he really understood everything, but he was probably maybe 3 or 4 years old, and he had started really getting into pro wrestling with me because we got the WWE network, and I was showing him all the old wrestlers and stuff, and he got really into the Ultimate Warrior. And he was like one of my favorite wrestlers growing up. So that made me super excited. So we were just watching old Royal Rumbles and WrestleManias, anything that had the Ultimate Warrior in it. And he was all in. Like, he loved the Ultimate Warrior. And it was just this weird circumstance or coincidence that right around that same time, the Ultimate Warrior came back into WWE. And because he basically burned a ton of bridges back in the day. And no one really wanted to work with him anymore. He just he made some really bad business decisions and stuff. And he was just a headache. No one really wanted him around. But he kind of mended a lot of the relationships, especially with Vince McMahon, like right towards the end, around this time. And he finally came back on Raw, WWE Raw, for a whole bit. And it was amazing. Like his speech was just very inspiring and everything. And whatever you feel about, him as a person and his actions and stuff, I think his place in the pantheon of pro wrestling history is firmly, I think, cemented. But it was just crazy because the day after that appearance on Raw, he passed away. He had a massive heart attack and passed away. And like having to tell Odin that, and just say like, hey, little buddy, he's not here anymore. And it was just weird. And it was a huge bummer. So I can relate to kind of what, Antichris is, and is going through with his son and that sort of thing. I would just kind of echo what you were saying earlier, Scotty, that it was amazing to see how much he meant to the African-American community, though, as a whole. Like, this was bigger than just a Marvel movie. It is much bigger. It had such a huge cultural impact, I think, in the African-American community. And to see that was amazing. To see how much impact his character and him as a person had, I think is awesome. And I think that it's going to continue. This isn't the end of that character. And I hope that they find someone who can take up that mantle. I don't know how they're going to do it within the Marvel universe, but I definitely think you got to continue that character, because the character that Chadwick Boseman helped bring, it would be bad to see it go away with his passing. I think he would not want that. I think he would probably want it to continue and to continue being such a positive figure amongst the community there. So I hope that Disney continues, down this path.
Absolutely. Yeah. It'd be a complete shame if they stopped the Black Panther franchise. And I think there are ways that they could actually introduce it into the franchise, as it were. They could actually have a new person taking up the Black Panther mantle, because that's part of the lore around the Black Panther. They're over through the generations.
He took up his father's.
Exactly.
His father was the Black.
So, I mean, I think I said on our chat the other day, it could be his sister takes it up or something.
That's what a lot of people are leaning into.
Yeah.
She was one of my favorite characters.
Yeah, she's a great character for one thing, and I think that would just
she was the best other character that wasn't him in that movie. Yeah,
and I think that would be great if they were able to do something like that. But it's just a sad bit of news this week for that, really.
According to Wikipedia, grain of salt, Black Panther 2 was in development and slated to release in 2022, May of 2022, but That's Wikipedia. Who knows how often that's updated?
And that could be pre-production work. Like they may not even began actual like real like filming yet. Like principal stuff.
Yeah, I guess it depends how far they were into it, really. So I guess we'll watch this space. I guess really.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Brilliant. So with that, we'll put that to bed for now. But we'll have a quick break and we'll be right back. Cheers.
What's up, guys? We are on Twitch 3 days a week, sometimes more, sometimes less. What is the internet? But if you go to twitch.tv/Megavisions, Monday, Wednesdays, Thursdays, you will see us playing everything from Phantasy Star Online 2 to Anarchy Reigns on our Thursday night throwdowns, which we do also invite the community into. And we have coming up on there to be hosted on Twitch is the 24-hour Dreamless Dreamcast Marathon on September 12th. Mark your calendars, but otherwise, check us out any day throughout the week. Keep an eye on twitch.tv/Megavision.
Pics of the Week.
Welcome back. We're now moving on to our segment, which is the Pics of the Week, where we talk about any movies, TV shows, games that we've been playing or watching, and to let you guys and girls, the audience, know what we're doing, so you may be interested as well to watch or play such games that we talk about, or movies. So without further ado, Chris, what has been tickling your taste buds this week?
I knew you were going to pick me first. I haven't played a lot of this game. I just started it, but I'm really excited about it. Partly because Caitlin, my oldest daughter, is the one who told me about it. But it's this new release on the Nintendo Switch called Moon. Have you guys ever heard of this game before?
Not until I read the outline.
Moon and I thought you were talking about the movie starring. Shit, God, I'm so bad with names today.
I know exactly who you're talking about.
Talking about him.
Have you guys seen it?
I can picture him. I can't remember what he's called.
Yes, it's a fantastic movie.
He was the bad guy in Iron Man 2.
Yeah, 2.
Sam Rockwell.
That's it.
Yeah, Sam Rockwell. Great movie.
That is a fantastic movie. I love Sam Rockwell. But no, I am talking about Moon. This is a video game. It was never before released in the United States. So this is the very first time. It was released originally in 1997 on the PlayStation. And it's kind of known, and even I think the Kenichi Nishi is the basically the original director designer of the game, but he called it like an anti-RPG where there's really like no combat in the game. It looks fantastic. It's like a 2D style of game, but just the sprites and the art are really, really well done. It's a trip, man. Like this, it's very self-aware. It pokes fun and parodies a lot of kind of your like a stereotypical, JRPG style of games. You start the game off, it's like a game within a game. Like your character is playing this RPG and the sprites are awesome. They're just really, really big. I try to think back and think of like what I would have thought of this game back in 97 on the PlayStation, and just visually, like I think it looks so fantastic. And this actually ties into our feature discussion that we're going to be having later on a little bit too. But you play through that opening bit, that kind of game within a game, and you get to the point where your mom like basically tells you it's time for bed. So your character turns off the game. It's called the game station, but looks just like a PlayStation in there. It looks really funny. And he goes to sleep. But somehow the game station turns back on and this game pops back on and somehow sucks the character into the game itself. So now the main character is basically in that game, in that universe. And you're basically just trying to kind of figure out like what's going on. But it's really interesting. I'm very early into the game. I've only maybe about 45 minutes or so into it, but I still wanted to kind of talk about it just to get it out there. But it's really an interesting style of game where it's kind of eschews the whole combat and everything. And you're supposed to be kind of like spreading love and like joy and positivity into the world. It's an interesting, take on a RPG. Apparently Undertale took a lot of inspiration from this game.
I was going to say that. And everybody knows Undertale.
Right. And I guess the original creator even, has publicly said that they took it from this game. And Caitlin has been playing this a bunch too, so it's been kind of fun. She was actually over here earlier today, and we were kind of talking about the game and everything, and we actually started playing it a little bit. But I love the way the backgrounds and the environments are done. It's interesting because they look like they're pixel based, but they also somehow have sometimes it looks like a watercolor
pre-rendered.
Yeah, it looks pre-rendered, but it's done in, it has almost like a oil painting or style of look to it. And I found that
reminds me. I mean, if anybody's never seen it, if you think of how Final Fantasy 8, maybe 9, and more than anything, I think of Silver that was on the Dreamcast and PC.
Oh yeah.
How the characters are very clearly not part of the world they're running around in, but it's not so jarring as those. This blends it a little better.
Yeah.
It looks like, honestly, the world could be something out of the Rayman games.
It does.
Because of how curved it is and everything.
Yeah, it's really kind of almost deformed in such a way. And I just it has really cool character portraits, just little things that pop up. The way a lot of the designs of some of the enemies look like they could be a summon from Final Fantasy 7 or something like that. You could see it's very open and unabashed even of the stuff that it's kind of pulling from the stereotypical JRPGs and stuff that have come before it. It's just very self-aware. The writing is really well done. I don't know.
Oh boy!
I don't know who.
I just looked it up on eBay, and some psycho's trying to sell the original version for $3,500.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's because of it just came out, or if this game is really worth a ton of money. But
that's asking price. Yeah.
I'm happy that this was localized and released on the Switch. It's a perfect game for the Switch. It's only $18 too. It's
okay.
Fairly, it's still that sub 20 kind of budget price. So I definitely suggest you guys go play this because it seems to be very interesting so far, and I'm really looking forward to jumping into it some more. I think I'm going to play it more before I jump into Control, Graham.
Oh, you son of a gun.
I mean, that's just the adult way of handling RPGs. If you don't tackle it immediately, it's never happening.
True.
Exactly.
But just by reading your description on our outline, I have bought the game on the Switch.
Jesus Christ.
It isn't a podcast until Graham buys something that we've...
Yeah, right.
I read it in the outline. I was like, that sounds interesting. I went to the store on the Switch. It's like, oh, it's pretty cheap. And then I looked at it. I was like, yeah, I think I'm going to enjoy this. This seems like my kind of cup of tea. Scotty, what is your pick of the week?
Since we recorded last, I haven't done much, but I did get to watch Bill and Ted Face the Music. That just came out. Brand new movie. They released it digitally because COVID, and they want to actually get it out to people. Bill and Ted 1 and 2, that came out, well, first one was 80 something, and the second one I think was 90s. I don't remember. Should have looked that up.
It was 89 and 91 or something like that. It was the first one was right at the end of the 80s.
89 for Bill and Ted 1.
And I think the second one is right at the...
Bogus Journey.
Okay.
89, he said.
89 and 92 for Bogus Journey.
92. Okay. That was close.
Okay. That makes sense. Yes, this, I mean, it's a gamble to make a sequel to a beloved franchise. I would argue that Bill and Ted is one of the more cultural, impactful movies of that time that wasn't a horror movie or wasn't adventure, not Star Wars thing, because everybody says be excellent to each other. But yeah, Bill and Ted 3, for those that have no idea, it's Bill and Ted. They have to write the perfect song to save the universe, essentially. Their daughters are in it now, and they have to travel through time to do this sort of thing. I can't say a whole lot without spoiling, but it was just good vibes, good positive energy all around. There were some jokes that really fell flat, and there's a character that I kind of thought was dumb but I won't say anything about that. Spoilers, there's eventually an assassin that's trying to get Bill and Ted, and he is basically the PlayStation 5 in human form, the way that he looks, because he is white with like glowing blue parts.
Wow.
And no, but it's good. It's fun. There's musical references here and there, and there's references to the other movies here and there. The guy who played Death, and I can't remember his name, was the bad guy in Die Hard 2. Is awesome.
William Sadler.
Yes. Yep. He's back. It's fun. It's a good movie. It's a positive movie. It's definitely what people need right now. And I almost honestly teared up at the end because of just the happy feeling that it is as a movie. It's just as goofy and go lucky as the other ones. I was really afraid.
Do you feel it captures the same vibe of the first two movies?
It's hard to do that because those movies are very much from their era. And like this one it could have been referential to the nth degree, but it's not. But I think it's just a fun, clueless thing. And it is, I lost my train of thought now. Phooey.
I'll ask you this. How well do you think Alex Winter and Keanu Reeves were able to jump back into those characters?
That's kind of what I was going to say. Because the trailer, it really made it look like Keanu was phoning it in and only Alex Winter was trying to be Bill again. But as you go on, it's pretty great. And there is a lot more of just their cluelessness and their goofy characters. I think because that's the thing with Bill and Ted is everybody says Keanu is the same character in every movie, like since The Matrix, and like they'll say like Constantine essentially is Matrix 4 and stuff like that. But if you go back to Bill and Ted, like that was the role that he was just totally different from anything else he's done. I think it's not as strong as in this one, but you do still believe that he is that same character.
That's cool.
And it's fun. It's just it was short. It's only an hour and a half. I think they could have honestly made it another 15 or half an hour long. My only solid complaint is the ending feels very abrupt. No spoilers again, but it's a good time, and part of me kind of hopes they don't go anywhere else with it. But if you read through the credits, the way things are named, they're probably going to try another one.
Ooh.
I'd be fine if this was the end, though. But I will say overall, I will be happy when this gets a Blu-ray release to add, because I have Bill and Ted 1 and 2. I will happily add this to my collection the Bill and Ted trilogy. I dug it. It was a good time.
How is it without George Carlin, who played Rufus?
It's sad that he's not there. I think they respectfully include him, and it's actually kind of a plot point that he's even in it, so to speak. They didn't go full Star Wars or anything with this. Thank God. And actually, his real life daughter is in the film somewhere. I don't know what she looks like, so I didn't know who to look for, but she is actually in the film.
Cool. And to be honest, I don't know much about the movie because I've tried to stay away from trailers and stuff, because this is one of those movies I know I'm going to see, so I don't need to see the trailers for it, basically. I don't want any spoilers. However, I have to ask, are the girls in it, the sort of love interests from the original two movies? They're wives. They're wives. Yeah. Oh, yes. Yes. Cool.
No, I don't think it's the same actresses.
Oh, okay.
I don't think for sure. But yeah, they're in it. Just about everyone that you would expect. It's a good movie.
Okay, perfect. I'm happy to watch it. That sounds fine.
My final thing on it. It was $20 to rent this. I had no problem paying that much because I enjoyed it.
Okay, cool.
I'm going to get it tonight, but you can purchase it for $25. So I'm just going to buy.
I thought about that, but I was like, I'm going to get this Blu-ray. But I want this movie to do well. So opening weekend is when you got to do that, I guess. So
where for the listeners and everyone, where did you rent it from?
I did the PlayStation Store because it was the easiest to get to.
Okay, cool. So I assume
rather than trying to find out like what app it was on. So
yeah,
I think so.
I want to say before we end that according to IMDb, Bogus Journey was released on July 19th of 1991.
Oh, hello. I'm
right. I was right. I said 89 and 91. I just wanted to be on record and correct it.
That's the Wikipedia thing popped up for me. It said 92. That's weird. Oh, because I'm in the UK.
Yeah,
it's,
you're on the
it's
UK.
recognizing I'm in the UK, and it says United Kingdom next to it. I missed that bit. Sorry. Came out in 92 in the UK, so I'm also right.
Oh.
January 92. Yeah. Right at the start. 3rd of January. Yeah. Like 3 days in to 92, we had it. So anyway.
Yeah, I'm watching it tonight though. I'm super excited about it. I'm just
They definitely could have gone a different way with it being 2020 now and being like, oh, but we're not even on Spotify. They don't do stuff like this, so I appreciated that they didn't try to make it topical.
Okay.
Yeah. Those things, they don't hold up, over time. It might give you a chuckle at the time, when you first watch it, but after a year or two after that,
the amount of movies I've seen from the early 2000s which talk about MySpace and stuff.
Yeah,
like as in it's like, oh yeah, we've got MySpace, or I don't know.
I kind of like it now though.
I find it funny, but I think that people just missed it. Like your kids would just be like, what are they talking about? Like, for us, it's kind of like, oh, MySpace, I missed that.
Yeah, the director or writers probably weren't thinking you're going to be laughing at it rather than because of it. But
a prime example of that. Have you guys seen Wreck-It Ralph 2?
Yes,
unfortunately.
That is not going to age well. Give it another 10 years, and that movie will not be as funny as it is now.
Well, right, because like half the like little places they go to may be called something else or be not around and stuff.
I remember watching that and thinking like some jokes when it came out were already kind of old.
Yeah.
But that's the risk you run trying to make a movie about the internet. So yeah, but go see it. I think you'll definitely enjoy it, Chris. I don't want to hype it up too much, but I know you'll dig it.
Yeah, I think I know what to expect from this movie. I've been waiting for this for a long time. I'm a big fan of Alex Winter and Keanu Reeves, and of course these characters are great. So can't wait.
I might look at renting that I've got Monday off. It's a public holiday, so I may actually look at renting it and watching it tomorrow.
Stay through the credits. Also,
okay. Post credits scene.
It doesn't come out in the UK until a year after the US release.
Of course. I forgot about that. Yeah. January 2021. I get to watch it. Oh no. Okay. What was it? I don't. Is there any more of that, Scotty?
No, I was pleasantly surprised. I think it might have played it safe, but it still caught me off guard a couple of times, and I really dug it.
Excellent. Perfect. So my pick of the week is Advent Rising, which we've mentioned a couple of times on the show before. As long-term watchers of the show, or recent long-term watchers of the show, will know that Chris convinced me to buy Advent Rising, and we've actually since been streaming it on Friday nights. We're probably about halfway through. I don't know, Chris, you played the game before. I haven't. But that's my pick of the week this week, because I've been really digging it. We've played it. We've had I think it's only 3 live streams of it, but we're playing a couple of hours at a time each time, so about 6 hours into the game. I'm loving it. If you don't know about it, it was released in 2005 on the original Xbox and also the PC, and in 2006 it was actually released on Steam. I didn't realise it'd been on Steam that long, actually, until I Googled it earlier. And it's one of those games that we've spoken about it before, how it feels like it's taken inspiration from some big shooters of the time, especially Halo, and partly in this sort of sci-fi setting, and sort of the human race is basically on the verge of extinction, and also just like the aesthetics and the weapons they use, they're kind of very Halo-esque. And the epic also orchestral soundtrack that's used in it. But we've got to a certain point in the game where it's separated quite far away from Halo now. In fact, I was comparing it to Control, the modern game that's on the Xbox One and PS4 and stuff, because essentially you unlock these powers so you can like levitate enemies and items and stuff and throw them around, and it gets really badass. You are basically like a Jedi in the game, and I'm really enjoying it so far. It's got I think the storyline's really good, actually. It's it's not a groundbreaking storyline. It's quite a generic sort of sci-fi storyline, but it's entertaining and enjoyable enough. I think the good twist in it is the fact that humans were almost godlike species several hundred thousands of years ago, whatever, and an alien race sort of worshipped us effectively, and then we're on Earth and we've sort of lost those powers and abilities, and we're using technology more and more. But this alien race is basically helping us to unlock those abilities again, but another race is kind of attacking us and trying to wipe us out. So that's kind of a little bit different. And I'm really digging the storyline. I think it's got some really impressive cutscenes, especially for its time. And there's some really cool actiony scenes. It's got a terrible early 2000s sort of script, and I love it. It's just so bad dialogue. Oh wow! It's like, the kind of like the.
Give me a line. What's a good line?
I kind of.
His girlfriend has a lot of bad one-liners.
Yeah, his girlfriend's got really terrible one-liners. Wow.
But it's not that the voice acting is bad, because one of the guys, the main character that voices the main character, I guess, was also in Batman Beyond.
He is Batman from Batman Beyond, basically.
Okay. And so it's funny because a lot of the guys in the stream are like, I can't stop hearing like Batman talking when I'm watching this, which is really funny. But it's the voice acting itself, I think, is fine. It's just the dialogue, like what they had to read, is just very bad.
Yeah, it kind of works though. It's one of those ones that it feels like it's all
Kevin Conroy.
Okay, is that the.
That he is Batman Beyond, and Batman the Animated Series, and the Arkham Asylum. Arkham stuff game.
I'm just double checking.
The animated Batman.
Price's role as
That's like Did you guys play the first Doom?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
the first Doom. Samuel Hayden is voiced by someone who sounds like exactly like Optimus Prime's voice, but it's not that same voice actor. But that's all I could hear is just Optimus Prime talking to me the whole time.
God, I wish I could have that every day of my life.
Yeah.
I think.
What are you looking up there, Graham?
I'm actually looking. I don't think that is the voice actor.
Peter Cullen is Optimus Prime, though. I wanted to make sure I mentioned his name.
Why is this not coming up? So there's a guy called Will Friedle, who is also, he plays second Batman or something.
Is it Vidal? Vidal?
Is Stephen Marks the main guy you play as? Stefan Marks, whatever.
No, it's Will Gideon, isn't it?
It says Will Friedle as Terry McGinnis, the second Batman, under the pretense of doing everything for Bruce. Terry fights to find him as the new Batman. Batman. I'm just actually going to quickly go to IMDb now, because this is now going to bug me. We'll probably have to cut this out of the show.
I was thinking you meant who is Bruce. So that is Terry McGinnis. Yeah.
And was he? Yes, he is the guy from Advent Rising. Gideon Wyeth is the main character. So yes, the new Batman from Batman Beyond is the voice.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah. So
what we already said.
They've got some really good actors in this, and the acting is fine. It's just the script it feels like an early 2000s kind of teen American movie kind of script kind of thing, if that makes sense. But in a futuristic sci-fi setting, so it doesn't really work. But at the same time, it's just funny. It's fine. I'm enjoying it. I think it's great. And as I say, Chris and I are playing through it on Twitch every Friday night at the moment. But Chris, have you got, because you've been watching me play it and you played it originally, have you got any thoughts? Is it bringing back good memories for you, or how
it is? I played this when it came out, and I haven't really picked it up since. So this is bringing back a lot of memories for me that I forgot about this game. But one of the coolest things about it, and that I'm really enjoying seeing it a lot, is how the game handles you unlocking your new abilities, because it doesn't all just happen at once. Like, it's as you coming, like something will trigger your character and it like somehow unlocks it. That part is just kind of an afterthought. They don't really do a lot to explain like why he's unlocking these new abilities or anything like that. They're just kind of coming to him. But as you get that, and as it unlocks new ways of like gameplay and new mechanics and things like that, I remember playing it for the first time and thought that aspect of the game was so awesome, because I felt like my character was becoming a god in itself. You know, it's like Graham said, it's kind of like a Jedi. But just seeing you go from this like little, space pilot, and now he's fucking like making shit like levitate and stuff. And what's awesome, he's got like these like missiles that he can shoot out, like these
plasma sort of
ion pulse or something.
Yeah.
But you can also, and you assign those to your like right hand and left hand. And you can mix and match it, which is really cool too. So you can have like a magic, I guess, spell, if you want to call it that, or power in one hand and then hold a gun in the other. So you could like have a power where you can make someone levitate, and then you can hold them up in the air, and as you can like use it to shoot him with a gun, which is pretty crazy. Or you can use that same ability to hold them up, and then you could shoot like Aeon pulses into them. And there's another one where you could throw someone, so it's kind of like a force push in a way. But there's this outside scene where you actually have to go in space on this kind of like spacewalk, and all these enemies are coming at you. But Graham was just flinging them into deep space. Like it was like we were joking because it's the most like dangerous platform ever for just like if you look at just the logistics of sending people out to walk on this platform with no railings at all. Like it Death Star looked like, like it passed all the OSHA inspections. Because this is just way worse. Yeah. And so he's flinging them off like left and right, and they can't do anything. It's the most easy, silly level in any video game I've seen, because it's just he just walks and just flings them. Anytime someone comes in, they just fly into deep space. And I'm just thinking like, oh my god, this is such a crazy level. Yeah. Murdering.
Please go back and clip that if you haven't, Graham.
I was trying to clip it, but I guess I wasn't logged into my browser that I was watching, so it wouldn't let me clip it. And so I don't know if we're able to do that after the fact, but if you can, it's certainly worth. Okay, Graham, we got to do that because it is totally worth it. Oh, and then I forgot the best part.
Yeah,
we find out one of the bosses is literally called Barack Obama.
Oh God!
Yeah,
the thing is, it's weird. This game came out in 2005 before Obama was president or before any of that stuff. So I don't. They couldn't have named this character after him.
It's a different spelling, but when you read it out loud, it does say Barack Obama. Basically, it's really
it's like Barack, like Obama or something like Obama. It's weird, but when you say it phonetically, it's like says Barack Obama. It's weird, really crazy. And when he
wasn't even senator until he was senator in 2005.
Yeah.
So unless somebody's from like Illinois that made that game and really love him,
I can't imagine they would do that over a senator. But I think it is just a weird coincidence. I don't see how anyone else could do it, but because it had nothing to do with the person Barack Obama. It was actually a pretty neat boss battle, I thought, too, Greg.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. Yeah, it's because so far the boss battles haven't been that good. Like they're very easy, and this was actually one that actually I think I died like 4 times trying to actually beat this. I couldn't tell if it was meant to be a girl or a guy. But it's an alien. It's basically a space alien. So I guess gender's not really. I don't know.
We have to admit though, too, Graham, that we've had to go to a walkthrough on.
Yeah. So on that boss battle, I was basically standing there just shooting this thing from a distance because I had a shield power, like I was on high behind the shield. And it didn't seem to be hurting the boss at all. So I was like, dude, this is going to take ages. May as well just like look at a guide. And so, Chris started looking at guides. And that's the one other thing. This is almost like a complaint about the game. It doesn't really tell you where to go. Like the objective will be like, go meet up with this person. It's like, where is that person? I literally no freaking clue. And like, I basically walked up to this like bridge area of the ship and like was killing everything. We got there and there's like no buttons to press or anything. It's like, what do we do now? Go back to where we just came from, basically, and meet up with this guy who was with us fighting everybody and then just disappeared. But it's just like this weird bit. Like, so I was like walking around, I was like, so going back, and I was like, this can't be the way I've got to go. I've got to be something back on the bridge. So that was that's one complaint. There's been a few times I've got lost. And so Chris again had to look at the guide for that. He's like, go back, go down this corridor. I was like, I've just come from there. And then another door happened to open or something. But it's like, there's no way to know that's going to happen. There's no cutscene to show you this door is now open or the guy to go, come on, follow me back this way or something like that. So that's one complaint. But it's really cool. When you get the powers, there's like a pulse power, which is actually sort of just this weird pulse shockwave thing. And there's a bit where these ships come in and like start attacking you on the speech. But I was just standing like it was funny. Chris was like, oh yeah, by the way, you can like totally like push those rockets back at the ships. And I thought he was joking because Chris always says stuff to mess with me. And I was like, no way. And then I did it. and it worked. I was just like, this is awesome. It's like just firing these missiles back at them. I thought that was really cool. So it's a fun game.
Going for it, like I would love for this series to have continued. I think, like, especially if they could have, if they could have polished the game, because that's really what I think the game's lacking. Just polish. Like, for instance, like they need to have some sort of waypoint system in this to kind of like show you where you're supposed to be going. That's the kind of polish that I'm talking about, is just like going in and fixing those type of things. And that's what, that makes this game the difference between, like, being a second or third tier, shooter, and being like a Halo or something like that. That's like, a legit AAA game. It just doesn't have that. But if they could have, put the money into it, if this game was a success, and because this was a planned trilogy, and so they could have done Advent. I can't remember what it wasn't going to be. Advent Rising 2. It was Advent and then something.
Okay.
And else.
Risen.
But yeah, Advent still rising. But I think they could have done some really cool stuff and continued to build upon the gameplay mechanics and everything else. It's just a shame that it basically tanked, and we've got this one game, and we'll never see anything.
I'd actually love to see a remake of this game, to be honest. I just think it'd be pretty awesome with modern technology and everything.
Everything you guys say about it, and maybe it's because you get God mode, essentially, just reminds me so much of my experience with Resistance 2 on the PS3, because that's how that game ends, is you become a god. And you're like, there's just enemies coming at you, and you're literally like going like this, and just them and their guns and bullets just fly to the right. And it's just, and then I love that game, played the shit out of the co-op. The third one came out, and it was just like clearly meeting financial ends. They had to make this game because they were legally required to at that point, but it just fell so far off.
Did it continue the powers, or
no? Do you care about spoilers?
I don't care. It's an old game now. I actually own Resistance 1 and 2, but I've never played
Resistance 1 and 2. You play the character you play as. At the end of the second game, one of the members of your squad shoots him and kills him. That's the last scene, is the main character dies in Resistance 2. So a lot of it was like, how are you going to make the next game? And so it was really hyped up. And it always bums me out, because everything that Gears of War does with the alien race and stuff is so similar to Resistance. So I feel like if Sony had done it the right way, they honestly could have competed against Microsoft's Gears of War series. I always had so much more fun with Resistance, but it sounds very similar to a lot of things with this. And the plot was just a cool idea. Instead of World War II, an alien race shows up. So you have to use these old guns and old technology against aliens.
Yeah. So I like the idea of Resistance. I have it on the PlayStation 3, and I played a little. I just said I didn't play it, but I played a little bit of Resistance 1. But at the same time, I had, what's the other? Killzone. I had Killzone. I basically, because I got my PS3 late, I got loads of games with it quite cheap. And I just thought Killzone was a better game. So I started playing Resistance. I was like, not enjoying this that much. So I played Killzone.
The first one's
way good.
Rough. First one's rough. Second one's great. And the first one has a co-op campaign. The second one has a different co-op campaign. Servers are not up for any longer in those. But to give you an idea of how intense we were into those, we had 2 TVs set up in my apartment during college and playing online with other people during this co-op mode.
Wow.
And like there were like 6 people in our living room playing this game, because you could split it up 3 ways on one TV and then be playing online.
That's cool.
But I just love that game so much, and I feel like it's similar to Chris's love for this series, how it just unfortunately went nowhere, but was so strong at the beginning.
Yeah.
So it sounds like something I should definitely try.
Yeah. Well, come and join us on a Friday night. Check us out.
I can. You guys play when I'm in the middle of my work.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we finish it like it's like 5 or 6. No, normally 6 o'clock UK time. So it's like 1 o'clock your time, I guess. So yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So let's just have a bathroom break.
For 2 hours.
Yeah. Hop on. It's like, I've got a problem, boss.
Chris, you're muted. You're muted. What were you saying?
I was just saying, get your phone and like sit it next to your computer monitor and just have the stream going.
I mean, I could watch and listen to you guys while I'm working, but I just would not be able to actually contribute to anything.
That's fine. Just do that.
Or when you get a chance, go back and watch the streams.
I should.
One of these days.
Yeah.
It's fun. I think it has enough good stuff going for it that it's worth a playthrough, especially if you're a Halo fan, because I think there's you can see where they took inspiration from Halo, and I think it's just really neat to kind of experience that, to see like what other developers at the time were trying to replicate with their own games, while Halo was this juggernaut in the game industry. Because around this time, man, if you weren't like Halo was everything. This was before, like Modern Warfare got big. Before any other big shooters today, Halo was like at the top of the game. And this is like Advent Rising. This is like a game that they were trying to tell more of a campaign. They were way focused on a campaign. This was not had anything to do with like any multiplayer, but they were just trying to tell like a really captivating sci-fi story and like an epic on a huge scale, and create this new series that they were hoping, would be on the level of a Halo. And it just never reached that point for them,
Sad, but yeah. So I guess that will do it for our picks of the week. So we'll take one more break and we'll be right back with our feature discussion. So stay tuned.
I want to let you guys know that Megavisions has a Patreon at www.patreon.com/Megavisions. And when you're there, you can choose to get either a physical or digital issue of the magazine. We ship worldwide, so you can get one wherever you live. And if you subscribe to the physical edition, you automatically receive the digital issue as well. And we only charge your account when we're actually ready to ship an issue. So you don't have to worry about getting random charges that you don't understand why they're coming your way. We are very clear, and we let everyone know like the weeks leading up to when we're actually going to charge everyone's account. So anyway, please go check it out. Like I said, it's www.patreon.com/Megavisions.
And welcome back. We are now moving on to our feature discussion. And as always, we're mixing up a little bit. And this week we are doing a feature called Alternate Gaming History. And the topic this week is, did 3D happen too soon? So what we're doing is for this feature, we'll look at a different point in video game history and ask, what if something was done a bit differently? And this time we're asking whether or not 3D gaming happened too soon. Should the big three, Sega, Sony, and Nintendo, focus their consoles on 2D gaming at the time? Or were they right in pushing the 3D graphics on their home systems when they did? And just a reminder, the SEGA Saturn launched in November 1994 in Japan. Sony PlayStation was December 1994, and Nintendo 64 was a couple of years later, June 1996. But at the time, those were the three big consoles of the time. Yeah, Chris's favourite date in the calendar. But also a reminder, before the big three, which we think about when we talk about 3D gaming, there was the Philips CDI, which originally launched back in 1990. There was an updated version released in 1991 and some other updated versions after that. There was a Panasonic 3DO in 1993. Chris's powerhouse there. And, of course, the Atari Jaguar claimed to be the first 64-bit console in 1993, although there's controversy around that because it wasn't really 64-bit, but let's scrape over that for now. But so yeah, there were in fact 6 consoles in the early 90s which did start to dabble with 3D graphics, but arguably the Saturn, the PlayStation, and the N64 were the ones that really drove it home and were really pushing for the 3D visuals. So yeah, is it? It's. I guess as part of the introduction, it's clear that when you go back now to play some of those games, the 3D visuals don't hold up so well. And there are some games that are almost unplayable now when you actually play them. Even back in the day when they were launched, some 3D games really were pushing the power of those systems, or the developers didn't really know how to handle it. So they're actually quite unplayable even back in the day. They didn't really run very well for the systems they were designed for. So that really does raise the question, were the console manufacturers right to jump on 3D or did they do it too soon? So, Chris, why don't you take it away, buddy?
I absolutely think that they jumped on this too soon. I think the early and mid 90s, the parts that they were using to put in these systems, they just weren't capable of pushing these 3D games. Like if you look on the PC games this era, like the PCs could do that because they were able to still be a lot faster and everything. So you'd have good 3D games on the PC, but when you try to have these console games running on there that were similar, a lot of times they just played like crap. And these games just don't really hold up that well when you go back and play them. These days, you can look at, and I think that they should have just stuck with 2D like for the rest of this generation, because I would have loved to seen like what the industry could have done with more 2D gaming and taking 2D gaming and putting it on these, for what they were at the time in the console space. Like these were the most powerful systems that we've ever had for home console. And I think seeing like how they could have really pushed 2D gaming in that time frame would have been awesome, especially if you look back at like the best 2D games of this era, and some of the best looking ones, like Symphony of the Night is one that I think most people would really kind of look at. That game still looks great today. It still looks so good. And I think it holds up a lot better than some of the other games that had come out in this era. So I definitely think that the console manufacturers just jumped the gun on this. I think that they thought 3D was all the rage, and they wanted to show that their system is the one to get if you want real, true 3D, gameplay action or whatever. I just think that they missed the mark on this, and these systems just weren't ready. And I'll even go one step more and say that I don't think a home console was ready for true 3D gaming until the Dreamcast. Ooh. I think the Dreamcast was the first one in '99 that was able to do it right. Because I mean, look with like Sonic Adventure, you can say what you will about that game, but I think it really did 3D gaming really well. And I think the other games on that system, like NFL 2K, all the visual concept sports games were top notch. And you just didn't really see that from a lot of the other 3D games that came before the Dreamcast. So I'll go on record saying Dreamcast was the first real true 3D video game console, I think.
Okay, Scotty, do you have a rebuttal for that, or do you agree with what Chris says there?
I think that arcade should have been the baseline, so I'll hop off of that, because they should have paid more attention to... I mean, we were trying to... It's not on lines with the first home console Pac-Man compared to the arcade Pac-Man. Those were very different games. But there is a bug crawling up the wall in front of me. 1 second. So the arcades, when the Saturn and the PS1 were out, and the N64 should have been the baseline. And the Saturn it launched with arcade ports of Daytona, Virtua Fighter 2, Virtua Cop.
Virtua 1, don't you mean?
Did it? Oh, what am I
Virtua Fighter,
I keep thinking of that triple pack that you got with it if you bought the console later on that had Virtua Fighter 2, Daytona, and Virtua Cop. Yeah, but I feel like they were trying to make they should... let me start that thought over. Honestly, the Dreamcast and the PS2 era was when games were arcade perfect and when polygons were comfortable on home hardware, I felt like. And that was when, like, just look at Soul Calibur, launch game for the Dreamcast, and it had the arcade mode, but so many extra stuff in there. And it still actually holds up today. If you play Soul Calibur 1, it still looks decent. But I feel like consoles should have stayed with maybe the 2.5D stuff more than going into 3D stuff. Like, look at like a Stall or what's that? Oh, crap. Pandemonium.
Okay.
Do you guys ever play that game?
Yeah.
Or Tomba on the PS1.
Clockwork Knight?
Because what's that?
Clockwork Knight? Don't you ever played that?
Yeah. Because it's got pre-rendered stuff. But like
that's 2D, but they've got like 3D objects like fall forward and like stuff in the background that comes and Anyway.
Yeah, or like Gex. Well, Gex is not a good example of anything. The first one, but like that's games. Because I was trying to think of games that I love from that era that have not aged well at all. Sonic R is at the top of the list because like you look at Knuckles' dreadlocks and they're just straight pieces of paper that drape off of his head. Like he looks like a demolished umbrella is what his head looks like. Knuckles the demolished umbrella. That's what they call him. And other games that I just love from that era, though, Twisted Metal 1 and 2, Resident Evil, the first 2 games, or a couple of games in that. Basically, any game where your characters have a face, and hell no, those mouths are not moving when they're talking. But then I was thinking, like, well, Mega Man Legends was later on, and you at least had, like, like different expressions, but not, and the only way they were moving around was like, and there were words going along with them and stuff. That I'm sure that plays real well for audio listeners. But but another one that you think of is, of course, the Panzer Dragoon games, because those I can't recommend enough. Graham, did you ever look at the Panzer Dragoon post-mortem thing from GDC? How they talked about like how those games were made, essentially.
I forgot.
You should definitely check that out. It's like a good hour, so you might be able to watch it in spurts and stuff. But they talk about how just the models in that game, like each. What should have been a pixel or like just a piece of paper really was like a cube or like a decahedron or something crazy. Like way more effort went into making each small bit of that game than it should have, which is probably also why no one's tried to recreate it. But, even games like Metal Gear Solid, the first Metal Gear, that came out then, but it's hard to look at that game now. Even was it Twin Snakes that got ported to the GameCube, I think. A lot of people say that game is bad, or that version of it or something. I don't really know what's bad about it because I don't know that much about it.
I know they added extra stuff to it, which was just ridiculous. There's a bit where he does like a backflip onto like a missile and like throws it back at someone or something crazy like that. And it's just like which wasn't in the original game, and it's people just like this. They've just ruined it. They've gone too far with certain things. There's other things in it that were just a bit ridiculous, but.
I mean, Metal Gear is known for being like the most serious anime type game out there. It is borderline anime with some of the stuff that happens. You're fighting a vampire at some point or something. Anyway, psychic stuff. But yeah, so I think it. Of course, he's going to say this. Sega was taking the right route in thinking that it should have stayed 2D because the 2D games were very strong on their console. But PS1, the PlayStation 1 was ready for 3D and they put out, and it was easier to develop for. So naturally they looked better on that console. I think that 3D games, I think they would have been okay in that era if they had just waited a little longer and tried to experiment more with 2D than jumping as soon into 3D as they did. Because by the time the early PS2 and Dreamcast games, some of them don't look good, but like I said with Soul Calibur, that looked just fine. I'm trying to think of other early Dreamcast games. Like Outrigger was a very good arcade port. A lot of good arcade ports. Rival Schools is not called that. Project Justice. There was good 3D stuff on there. But yeah, that era was when they were ready for stuff. Or just simply look at the Sega, the Shenmue demo on Saturn versus what it ended up being on Dreamcast. Like that console was not ready for what they were going to try to pull off with that. So I think that essentially, what's that?
I was just saying, I think that's a great example of like what you saw with Shenmue when it was on the Saturn, and then ultimately, what it became. It's just obviously if they had continued down development, it would have looked better than that, animation that we saw in the Saturn one, but still, like, how much better would it have really been able to look? It wasn't ready to fulfill, I think, his vision of what Shenmue was.
Yeah, I think. Excuse me, sorry. I think 3D. It's okay that it came out this era, but I think they tried too soon with it. And a prime example is if you look at the first Siphon Filter game. That game is bad looking. You are playing as cardboard people in it.
Look at it.
Yeah. So I guess I don't.
Oh, go ahead.
My last final closing statement is I don't 100% agree with Chris saying that it just should not have been done on that era, but I think it did happen too soon in that era.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll say I agree. I definitely agree. Like the 2.5D stuff was really good. Like I think that's probably where they should have really started leaning into. But from going from all 2D or like quasi 2D with some games and before it, and then just jumping into straight 3D, I think there was just such a huge jump in everything that I just don't think the whole industry was kind of ready for that yet. But so yeah, I think you had a good point with the 2.5D gaming. There was for sure some really good stuff there. Okay,
so my opinion is I think it was not too early for 3D graphics, and here's why. See, I feel like at this time, the Saturn and PlayStation needed to adopt 3D graphics to really push forward with the industry, as it were, because up until this point, the PC had been dabbling in 3D graphics in certain games, stuff that wasn't available on consoles, and before this point in time, games were console things. Like PCs did play games, but it wasn't really a thing that people would really buy a PC to play games. They'd buy a PC to do work on or, school stuff, whatever. But games were like a little side thing. However, this was around the point that the PC started to get better and better and better and were actually pushing better visuals. And suddenly you soon found that, oh, wait a second, PC graphics and stuff are better than these consoles. Arcade systems have gradually brought that up, Scotty. They were getting more and more into 3D. You had games like SEGA Rally, Virtua Fighter coming out, all this really good 3D graphics and stuff. And as I mentioned before, the Saturn and PlayStation weren't the first consoles to really dabble in 3D. You had the Philips CDI, which had a handful of games that started to use 3D graphics. Panasonic 3DO had a few more games that actually had 3D graphics in them. Atari Jaguar was using 3D graphics in quite a few of its games. Even the Super Nintendo and the Mega Drive had some games in it which actually were using 3D polygons, like Star Fox, like Virtual Racing, for example. Those consoles, they're not known for 3D, but they were dabbling in them. They're starting to do that. Yeah. And we're at this point in time where the industry was moving in that direction. And I think if the Saturn and PlayStation, if Sony and Sega both said, we're going to stick with 2D. We're just going to ignore the 3D. We might do a couple more Star Fox style things, but we're going to stick with 2D. I think at that point, the PC gaming scene would have probably exploded even more. And people would be like, whoa, why are we doing this when PC can do all this cool stuff? And I feel like they needed that. And also arcades as well. Like the Saturn was introducing arcade experiences into your home. Like Sega Rally is, I know Sega Rally is not the perfect port from the arcade visually, but it's the gameplay and everything on it's brilliant, and it does actually look good for its time. I would admit, not every obviously the Saturn technology wasn't really there properly for 3D compared to PlayStation, so a lot of Saturn games do look a bit ropey. But I feel like them dabbling in it, like with Clockwork Knight, introducing the 3D elements into it, the Panzer Dragoon games, as you say, I think they actually play really well, and I know they look a bit muddy now, but I actually still enjoy the look of those games, the aesthetics. So I feel like they needed to do this because there are 3 consoles just before it which were dabbling in it. They were showing that it could be done. PC games were getting more and more into 3D, and games like Doom and stuff, which was proving to be hugely popular. You couldn't really play them on these consoles which couldn't do 3D visuals. You needed the PlayStation or the Saturn, which could do 3D. I will admit the Doom version of Saturn is the worst port ever.
Oh, it's the worst.
It's so bad. It's so bad. But then proved themselves, proved the Saturn could handle 3D with Quake. Have you played the SEGA Saturn version of Quake?
No, I really want. This is actually
brilliant.
Anti-Chris's. He lent it to me because I mentioned how big of a OG Doom fan I am. Because I have this, and I have behind me the Game Boy Advance version of Doom. Which runs better than this dumb thing. This is so bad. I was streaming it for fun when Doom Eternal came out, and I forget. There's a part in one of the levels where you're going across a bridge and there's platforms on the sides, and you can definitely make it to those things to get to other areas. and I had to like people were like, "You can do that, you can do that." I'm like, "Okay, let me show you," because I had my camera on me. Like I had the controller, and I was showing them in real time how I turn or how I hit the D-pad and how fast I actually turn. I'm like, I cannot do this in this game. You know,
it was so bad. But the version of Quake on the Saturn was brilliant. It actually did better lighting effects than the PC original. It was really good what they did with that.
What was because they did Quake and they did another game where it's like an Egyptian.
Exhumed.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah, Exhumed. Oh no, it's called something different. It's called something different in America. It's called Power something, I think.
I'll look it up. Keep talking though.
Okay.
But what I was going to add to it was that those are decent games and unfortunately pricey.
But where was I? So like the PC was starting to do this, and I feel like this is the era that started the PC master race effectively, as they, that common saying, that, games that were coming out on both the Saturn and the PlayStation, if they came out on the PC just looks better, partly because these games were built on PCs, and the graphics cards they were using were sort of designed for that. And as I say, I feel like the Saturn was introducing these 3D arcade experiences into home, which I think would be lost without this era, like Sega Rally, Virtua Fighter, Virtua Cop, Virtual On, House of the Dead, Sega Touring Cars. There's so many games out there. And as I say, the Saturn's not the best example of 3D visuals, but it did help bring those games to the home. And I feel like it helped Sega and also Sony with those stepping stones for the Dreamcast, for the PlayStation 2. And I would say this, Chris, even if I thought the Saturn and PlayStation weren't the right time, I feel like the N64 was the right time, because Mario 64, I still think looks great today for its time, especially. Like, I feel like, you see, you've got this weird thing about the N64 looking terrible, but I feel like all the visuals in Mario 64 were solid. Like, on the Saturn and on the PlayStation, there oftentimes you'd see like a character, like their 3D formation would be there. Even if they're standing still, it's like kind of weirdly moving in a weird way as the polygons sort of move. That never happened on the N64. Like Mario 64, the launch title for the game, the console, was beautiful. It was perfect. Everything was solid about that game. And I feel like that would have been, if the Saturn and PlayStation, the 32-bit era wasn't right, the 64-bit N64 era was right. I feel like that is the point where, and like, especially for first-person shooters, like I feel like there's a few on the Saturn and PlayStation which were good games, but I feel like first-person shooters really hit home on consoles on the N64 with the likes of GoldenEye and Perfect Dark and Turok. Those were like PC quality first-person shooters on a console, and it was so good, so much fun. Personally, I feel like this was the era for 3D. They needed that stepping stone, because I fear without that, Dreamcast games, PlayStation 2 games wouldn't have looked as good as they did when they were first launched. They needed that stepping stone to build up their quality, the ability to actually do all that 3D, processes, development, whatever. Build that skill set, as it were. You need that stepping stone. So, yeah.
I can't find the name of that game, and it's driving me nuts.
It's called, like, if you just type in Exhumed, Sega Saturn, it'll probably come up with the other title.
All right.
Sega.
Probably. Yeah, Power Slave.
Power Slave, there we go. You had power in it. Okay, so we've each said our pieces and opinions. Do we have any rebuttal? Do we agree with any of each other's views on these things? Or are we all, solidly sticking to our guns and thinking, no, we're right?
I'll just say, like, I will say I think Scotty had a good point about the 2.5D gaming. So I would be happy with having that transition going, during this time frame of, like, maybe in the beginning of this console generation, it was more 2D gaming with it going into 2.5D, and then maybe towards the end, maybe dabbling in some 3D stuff. That way, when you really did get to the PS2 era, the developers were more ready to make that transition.
Okay, so here's actually, no, Scotty, you go ahead first. You go ahead first.
Well, I was going to say, to support my idea that I don't think they should have been entirely left for dead in that series or in that era. Gex Out of the Gecko is a really solid 3D platformer, and that was out later on. Another good 3D type game, the Virtual On game, was just rough to look at, but it was cool that was on the Saturn. I'm trying to find out. And then something that Graham reminded me of, the 32X actually had some of the first like arcade ports from Sega.
Oh yeah.
Like the Star Wars game's pretty good. Virtual Racing on there is very close to the arcade port. And actually Doom on the 32X is better than the Saturn version of Doom.
It's nuts.
And here we go. If 32X lasted only slightly longer, then maybe they would have been ready for the Saturn's hardware. And you can make a picture of me with that ball of yarn chart on the top of the wall. It says like, if the 32X lasted longer or something, because I'm gonna die on that hill that it would have helped Sega if they had released it later and maybe developed it better. Because there are some gems on the 32X.
There are,
but I can't remember. Sketchcraft said that it's like you're playing The Last Starfighter. What was that other game on the 32X?
I love that game. Yeah, I can't remember what it's called. I never remember what it's called.
It was Shadow Squadron, I think.
That's the one. Yeah.
So there were like, it seemed, maybe it's because they were more familiar with the Genesis hardware, but that the 32X games, some of them, it had potential. It's weird to say that. It's weird to even support the 32X in 2020. But the more I learned about it, the more I wish that it had a better chance, because I think that could have been the stopgap to get to the Saturn if they had just, maybe if they hadn't released the Sega CD or something. I mean, this is alternate history to the nth degree now. But what I'm saying is, if the 32X had a longer life cycle, that maybe the Saturn would have been ready for 3D gaming from the get-go.
That's fair. Yeah, that's a fair comment, maybe. I have to ask this question, though. So, Chris, Scotty, if we were to say that, Sega and Sony didn't go with 3D for this particular era, do you think we would have missed out on some really great titles? Like, you've got Knights, you've got Panzer Dragoon Zweis, Panzer Dragoon Saga, you've got Spyro the Dragon on the PlayStation, like Crash Bandicoot. I hate that game, but I know people love it. All those games. Final Fantasy. You got the Final Fantasy 7 on the PlayStation 1, which was like the system killer. That's got
look how it looks now, though. It looks like crap.
But at the time, people were like, "Oh my god, this is amazing." I mean, if you look at like Xbox original games, people were like, "Oh, that looks crap now." At the time, you're like, "Whoa!" Like Sega Rally for me at the time was like, "I'm in a real racing game right now. This is freaking awesome." And now I'm like, "Oh, it doesn't look that good." But at the time, you're like, "Wow, this is the best graphics I've ever seen." So yeah, do you think we would have missed out on those games? Do you think this alternate history would have missed out those gems of that era? Because I feel like those were some of the games that were very much of that era. I know there have been Crash Bandicoot games since and Spyro games since, but at the time, that was something about those games that was just, it was beautiful for that era. It was perfect. So good. And I'm going to say it hand on heart, I don't think they've made a better 3D Mario game since Mario 64. I think that's the best 3D Mario game ever. I'm sorry. Mario Odyssey, I just don't get. I think it's fine, not great. Sunshine sucked.
Let's not get into that.
Okay. Anyway, yeah. But I feel like of its time, those were games that really launched. I don't know. Those are the 3D games I thought worked so well.
I don't think Final Fantasy VII can support that argument because it's not a fully 3D game.
Let's skip that. Let's cut that out. Cut that out. Ignore that. I was trying to think of PlayStation games that are popular.
What I'm saying is, though, that game did well, or it. I think it's aged okay because you have the pre-rendered stuff. And then the battles are 3D, but that's not a full part of the game. Like, if they tried to make that full game 3D, it'd be a pile of crap. And that's what, unfortunately, they try to do with other stuff. Like, I think if they were ready for 3D, if Sega was ready for 3D, then Sonic Extreme would have happened. Sonic Extreme did not come out, and it's probably good that it didn't, after seeing like what Sonic Jam's Sonic World was and Sonic R was.
I love Sonic Jam's Sonic World.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, I love Sonic World. I'm saying that, like, look at Sonic 3D Blast. That's not a 3D game. It's not 3D at all. That's all pre-rendered isometric junk. So I don't know where I was going with. Oh, I was just going with this where it's like FF7 is not a defense on 3D.
Okay, ignore that comment. I was literally trying to pull out popular PlayStation titles out of my head. I couldn't really think of any. Gran Turismo. Yeah. There we go. Gran Turismo, 3D racing game. Like basically launched people into loving realistic racing games. I don't know. Do you think we'd have missed out on those games?
Which is weird to think about.
Because I feel like if it
would have happened, we wouldn't have missed out on them for one, and they wouldn't have happened until they probably would. Those games would have happened eventually, but maybe they would have been on the PS2 or the Xbox 360.
But do you not? Okay, so there's for the Saturn. Let's give the Saturn as a prime example here. There are games that were ported from the arcade to the Saturn, which I think are part of my gaming experience, my gaming history. I grew up with them. I love them. Like SEGA Rally and Virtua Fighter, for example. If Sega skipped the 3D era for that time. For like those, so the Saturn came out in was it 94? It ended about 98, 99. That's like 4 or 5 years. It had gone to the Dreamcast. That's too late for those games to be released. We'd never seen Sega Rally on a console. Maybe Sega Rally 2 would have come out because it did come out on the Dreamcast. But I feel like I would have missed out on some beautiful games. Like I still think Sega Rally today is still one of my favorite racing games.
They still would have released them.
I don't know. I don't know if they would have. Like that's too old. That you don't really see old retro arcade games coming out on new systems. It's very rare to see.
I would have missed Virtua Cop. That would have been. That was a big part of my childhood.
The light gun games were prime in that era. Like you got Time Crisis, you got Virtua Cop, you got House of the Dead. House of the Dead was one of my favorite shooters of all time. On the Dreamcast, you had a few. Xbox, you had a couple. PlayStation had a few, but then that kind of died a death. After that era, there's no more. Like because it just really we had a few, but the technology of TVs moved on that you couldn't really use light guns anymore, so it's kind of all redundant. I just feel this. I feel it would be okay. You're right, Chris. We wouldn't miss it because we wouldn't know about it, but I feel like that would be a shame. Almost, I feel like we got a good version of history here. I don't know. I'm going to defend this to the death. I agree the technology on those systems wasn't the best, but I feel like they needed that stepping stone to start to bring out these brilliant games. The
beginning of anything looks horrible. Look at the first iPod.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
With a physical click wheel and crap. So it's, I think I understand where Chris is coming from for sure. But I stand firm that I think it still was okay to start in that era, but not launching the era.
Right. Yeah. Do you think that Sega reacted to release 3D games when they found out Sony was making a 3D system?
100%, because the Saturn was not made for that.
Yeah, because that's the one thing that always bugged me about the Saturn. They didn't really make it. They made it so it could do 3D, but it wasn't really designed perfectly for 3D. So yeah, it's a shame.
I think that's my closing statement, though, is like that era was okay for it, but it was the learning era, and I think the Dreamcast era would not be as fondly remembered if we hadn't led. You got to put out some garbage before you put out the good stuff.
And I feel like if we didn't have that era, I would have missed out on my favorite game of all time, Panzer Dragoon Saga. So if there's an alternative reality you're going to create, Chris, I want to stay in this one. I will die here. I'll die happy. It's fine. You guys continue. You go into the future. I'll stay here. Panzer Dragoon Saga. Any further thoughts, Chris? Sorry. Muted. You are muted right now.
You're muted.
I was just saying I have no more thoughts.
People at home, viewers, listeners, however you're watching or listening to this, let us know your thoughts. Do you agree with Chris? Do you agree with Scotty, who's kind of in the middle? Or do you agree with me? Which would be great because, I'm normally wrong about this stuff. So let us know your thoughts. Who's right? Can you see that alternate reality, that alternate time of history? Or do you think they could have been done differently? Just let us know. It would be great. And I guess with that wraps up the show for this week. Has anyone got any final thoughts for the whole show? You all good?
All your opinions are wrong, Graham.
Perfect.
Yep.
Love it. All your base belong to us. Anyway, for that, take it easy, everybody. And be excellent to each other.
See ya.
happen.
We'll see. We'll see whether or not I have to order another one after this Peach Ring unboxing.
Another what?
A shirt. I'm gonna pour it on myself a little bit.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were making a diarrhea joke, and I was just trying to figure out how that fit in with the joke.
I don't know how badly you're having a time in the bathroom that your shirts are getting messy, but
you haven't seen some of my poops before.
That's correct.
Just wait till next year's Dreamcast marathon.
Great. Gonna be a different kind of squirrel we're looking at.
Oh yeah, it will.
God.
Yeah.
So
See, oh brother. What I was gonna say has no relevance now to this. So.
Oh, that's kind of cool. Okay, so we just I just updated the
You okay, Graham?
website.
Fine.
Graham does this every once in a while. He goes,
"Oh no, yeah. Oh, I remember it during the marathon. We thought something was wrong. He could not stand up. He had to do a barrel roll out of the room into the kitchen."
Done this. Ever since I've known him. I love it. I love when he gets in with these little.
It's not even that. It's like 5:30 over there for him. It's not even
I know.
Chris said.
What? You need to take a breath.
Chris said, "Have you ever seen That's correct."
What? I didn't hear a damn thing you said.
Oh my god.
Okay, Graham's gone by. Bye, Chris. What have you got?
Oh my god! I'm actually going to cry. It's such a good exchange.
Wait, what?
I'm gonna get outside.
Oh my god!
We should. Unfortunately, the RTX is too good to pick up his actual laughing, so it's just going to come through as satanic rituals.
Oh, that'll sound good.
Yeah. I don't even know what he was laughing at. We'll never know.
Yeah, there's
Graham.
been a big new update for our site's theme that just came out, and it looks like they've added a lot of cool new stuff. So I'll have to go through it later.
Oh, sorry about that.
How you
chaps.
feeling now, Graham?
That was just beautiful. Well played, sirs. Well played.
I still didn't hear what you thought was so funny.
I have no idea.
So I had water in my mouth just then. Oh god. It's probably not funny anymore, but it was it was reaction to when Chris said, "Oh, you haven't seen my boobs before." It's got this deadpan, just that is correct.
That's so funny.
That is great.
Are you serious? Man, I should charge tickets.
I guess Graham loves American style humor a lot.
I get that was just my genuine reaction. That's
That's great.
That's why I love improv, I guess.
Oh man. Just breathing. Wow. Okay.
Get together, Graham. You're a professional.
Oh dear. Not on this show. I'm not. Wow. What's occurring? What are we doing? We're doing a show, aren't we?
I have no idea. It doesn't matter.